Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Just play it, honestly. It's a great game. You will die a lot, learn to quick save often, but it's gonna be an experience that you wanna experience. It's gonna be great, in fact. It's the Skyrim that we deserve.
Today. You know what? I gotta thank the big man upstairs for just looking after me here because after Starfield Shattered Space, where I felt very robbed of my traditional Bethesda Game Studios exploration experience, normally a gamer has to go through years of agony, years of pain, years of missing that feeling, missing that high after you hit such a tremendous low. But in this year, I've got Kingdom Come.
Maddie accidentally said that modern day Bethesda is complete trash and it can't make anything good. It's true. We know it's true. It happens, okay?
Deliverance 2, I got the Oblivion remaster, and now I have Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. It has been raining Bethesda Game Studios style games lately, and I have been loving it and also healing. So I'm here to tell you about Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. Now, to be transparent, the first time I did cover this video was when the game was in early access. That was also a sponsored video, but my rule with my sponsored videos is like, let me say what I want, and you can have a slot on the channel. That's how it's always worked. But nonetheless, I wanted to just be upfront and transparent about that.
Wink, wink.
I have been playing the 1.0 version, paid for by me, no sponsorship, and I am like loving it. I am so surprised at how great this truly is and how much it reminds me of my favorite parts of Elder Scrolls, but also introduces new things that I really hope like Elder Scrolls 6 takes notes from. Nonetheless, if you're a BGS style fan, I think you're going to love this jank and everything. But I've been playing it, sinking in those hours, and I cannot wait to sink in many more in a year that has been full of really surprising distractions. And best of all,
That situation when you actually get to fight your first enemy and you're like, oh, this is cool. And then the tutorial throws two enemies at you at the same time and you're like, what please no. It's great.
add this one to the list, another $45 to $50 game. How about that? It's almost like there's a trend happening here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon. I'm really excited to put this one on your radar because the thing that upsets me the most is it's not getting a lot of media attention. So I'm trying to do my
True.
part, trying to help. So yeah, if you're new here,
Tainted Grail is great, but this was my worry from the very start when I saw this. Because it's not getting a lot of attention. That is the sad thing, okay? It deserves all the attention. People do talk about it, but the highest player peak was 25k. It's still holding on pretty good. I don't know how much for them is actually success. I'm assuming 25k, and that most likely means that roughly 300k-ish copies maybe have been sold at this point, is probably a success. Because there's no way this game costed, like, 5 million to make even, okay?
and you're into Bethesda Game Studio style
It's a small Polish studio who made this.
games, whether it be Elder Scrolls or a Scrolls-like, consider subscribing. All right, so where I really want to begin before I sink into more traditional Bethesda Game Studios like content is actually where I think the game differentiates itself a lot. One of those areas is, to me at least, the combat. Now I'll say this, I am not a huge fan of Tainted Grail's melee combat. It is that finicky,
It's because you suck.
bouncy melee style combat you would find in a Bethesda Game Studio style game. But where I've really found my pocket and where I've really fallen in love with the combat
It's that's not true. He's just bad at melee combat. It's not even true.
is both the character building and the magic system.
Yeah. Magic summoning and magic are more or less slightly easier based. Well, a lot easier based to play this game at the start.
The magic system
Oh, and he has summons. Look at this. You see these icons right here? Summons.
especially has been both flashy and very fun as I'm mixing together like dodging and evading at the same time as shooting out spells and building up status effects, but really where it all
And by the way, spells are technically again easy mode, but the reality also though is, um, it's not super easy mode because, well, every opponent either they're gonna like, for example, your first red caps are gonna encircle you and you're gonna be like, oh shit, I have to fight tooth and nail now or I'm gonna die because they literally just were on me in 3 seconds and now I'm encircled. everything has a ranged attack, or it's gonna, diminish the distance between you in a split second.
What came together for me with those two elements of character building and magic was with the summoning system. The summoning system is awesome in this game. I'm bringing in everything from corpse eaters all the way to skeletons and having them fight for me. Now, the way the game balances it out is when you summon these enemies in, they're going to have their own health bars that'll appear right above your own health bar. They'll also take up a chunk of your overall mana meter. Now, opening this game up, it is a lot more difficult than, say, your average Bethesda Game Studio style game. I think a fair comparison that my buddy Lockmort made would be like first person Elden Ring or first person Dark Souls. Not just because, oh, it's difficult, so it's Elden Ring, but more so when you get the vibe of the universe alongside how the game isn't afraid to punish you early. It does kind of depict that almost FromSoft inspired experience. But the power curve hits you a lot sooner, and it doesn't really let up. So what happened was when I was using the summoning originally, you'll see it in the gameplay. I just kept running out of mana. I'm like, man, I really need to figure this out. But then I found an entire Druid's Robe, and all of the passive effects increased my mana regeneration. And in a complete set, it totally changed the game for me. Now I'm summoning enemies, and my mana bar is refilling so quickly that I'm just spell slinging constantly. Then I start leveling up. I put points into my spirituality, which increases my spell power. It also has skills within that skill tree that allow me to.
You know what's the best part? Some people are not gonna even find any of this. I did not know you could even get a corpse either summoned. I have no idea where that is. I missed it.
Do things like increase my overall mana pool or unlock a skill called Summoner Battery, which gives me more mana regen based on how many enemies I've summoned, and it increases the percentage with each point I put into that skill. That is where I really fell in love, because that felt like I was really picking a lane and diving deep into it. I was ignoring everything from archery to two-handed weapons to one-handed weapons. I was ignoring even different types of play styles within the mage class, like using wands, using just separate one-handed spells. Because yes, in a very Skyrim-like move, or I guess a Val.
Yeah, he's turning away and running. That's typical. That is typical experience
As well. Now you can
going somewhere and getting surrounded is just typical. Okay, always be crouched when exiting anything, because the game just loves allowing you to go into a miner's tunnel, and then on the other side there's like this small corridor, and there's like 15 enemies there.
You can dual wield spells. You can wield a melee weapon and a spell at the same time, a shield and a spell if you'd like. It does have those crazy combinations, and each of these are assigned to one of 4 weapon loadouts. So if you're like me and you're just going full mage, I was just going in between like an ember spell and then an ice spell and a summoning spell, and then I ended up finding another spell that let me use my own summons to regen my health. So when I was getting attacked, I'd charge up this spell and shoot it at one of my skeletons, and I'd regenerate my own health. Or if I needed to get like, no, I need to shoot my spell. I just
You see how running doesn't exactly work. He's actually cheesing the game so hardcorely, and this is the start. Okay, this is pretty much the start of the game. He's already technically cheesing the game with some of the stronger things and best things that you can do. And as you can see, well, you can't actually see, but he's clearly getting still whooped. Okay, there's not he's running out of everything.
just zap one of them quickly, because there's a short cast window and a long cast window. Depending on the spells, they'll have different effects and different uses. The short cast for what let me zap my own summons would give me my mana back as well really quickly, so I wouldn't have to wait for them to die. So it gives you like a lot of control over the battlefield, and this is just, again, the magic portion of the game. I personally enjoy playing as, say, a mage in an Elder Scrolls game, but a lot of it's like holding down and sticking out my hand and just shooting a
LOL Elder Scrolls game.
flamethrower, and that's fine and all. Like, this isn't a video of me dogging on Elder Scrolls. There's a reason.
I mean, you also have that here, by the way, but it's cool at least.
I love it, and clearly the developers love it so much that they wanted to make their own Scrolls-like game. But I just love how this game has leaned both into character building and a really fun magic system, where it feels like this is the best part of the gameplay experience, if I'm honest, because I also did actually mess around with a little bit of archery early on. That felt fun. That felt very BGS coded with the sneak damage and everything. But I will say this, that if you would just jump into this game and you're going full melee, I wonder, and maybe it's just because I haven't dove deep into, say, the melee skills and what I can unlock there, but I do wonder if you would have as much fun on just fighting as I was. I think it's also because there was a little bit of danger. I mean, because this game with all the summons and everything, I was taking on like high level early game bosses when I probably shouldn't have, because I was using my summons as like a sponge. And since enemies hit so hard, if you're going full
Yeah, this is one of the first-ish bosses that you're gonna encounter.
melee and you're not mastering
It's literally on the beach.
that parry system, the game will absolutely punish you. So I think it's a lot more difficult for those of you who are out there being much tougher than me and being a melee bro. But I think the dodge system also works really well. The iframes you get.
Well, to be fair, actually, the thing is, you kind of have to cheese the game at some points because it is just hard. And the higher it goes, that well, the less you can cheese it, honestly, with summons.
For it, it's very effective where I've started to depend on it a lot. Like, oh, they're attacking me in this window. I'm going to dodge right now and get right out of the way. And you'll see, just like in an Elder Scrolls game, as I'm using all these skills I'm talking about, that the skill meter will rise. And when it rises enough, guess what? You gain that XP, you rest at a place, and you level up. Just like Oblivion. It's a beautiful thing. In fact, I think many of you watching this game are going to kind of feel that little bit of like, damn, I've been sinking so much time into an Oblivion-like game.
And there's a boss everywhere, remember?
When like the new Oblivion is right here. And so some people might be like burnt on this type of game, but for me, as someone who had their Oblivion playthrough cut short, this game is feeding me everything I wanted. So I just wanted to highlight that. I wanted to highlight the combat up front because I do think the magic system is a ton of fun. What I also love in this game is my favorite: exploration. Now, you can play this game in third person. I want to throw this out there. They added this late in the development cycle because a lot
I don't like third person, I'm not gonna lie.
of their fans wanted it. So they said, like, okay, we'll do it. But when you switch over to third person, they do something I've never seen before. They say, this is an accessibility option. This is not fully polished. We added it late. Like, literally just right there, like, boom, here you go. Like, this is what's happening here. So the game was built for first person. That means its environments are built for first person. Its animations were built for first person. But if you want to just jog around the open world in third person, like, you could do that. You could fight in third person. Like, you can do everything in third person, but it's not going to look as good or probably feel as good because, again, the whole game for years was built with first person, but they treat it as an accessibility option. I think for, again, the BGS diehard who likes to explore in third person, then fight in first person, you have that little niche right there that you can enjoy. Still, I just think kudos to the devs. Like, I love the energy of this team that they would do something like that. Like, yeah, this isn't going to be like fully polished, but it's going to matter to the player. And that's,
I mean, it's polished enough. I don't understand where are these people coming from and saying, oh, it's not polished. It is, okay? It is. It's playable. Yeah, okay. I mean, there is pixelation at some stuff, but who cares?
sort of player first mentality. I mean, as we've seen in these last couple of years, that matters more and more. Like, polish does matter, but the fact that they hit me with a pretty much like a warning sign right at first, I was like, okay, cool, like, noted. Thank you for letting me know, and I'm just happy it's here. Not every developer is going to get that level of grace, but when you're like a small indie style team from Poland making this type of game, this ambitious of a game, like, yeah, your level of grace and give from me at least is a lot more generous compared to, I think, standard like full-on AAA productions where I'd expect those things to be more polished. Anyway, back to exploration. It's not just the camera perspective. I love how much content's in this game. It's overwhelming at first. Like, you'll get to your first town and you'll get a million bounties, and then you'll talk to someone and they'll give you a side quest, and all these NPCs are fully voiced, varying in quality for voice acting.
Everyone's favorite psychopath.
Work, as I think you'd expect for a game like this. Like, some characters sound really good. Like, when King Arthur speaks, I'm like, damn, is that Ulysses? Is that Ulysses from New Vegas? It's not, but I'm like, damn, okay. And then other characters talk, you're like, all right, this is where you can cut the budget a little bit. You're just like, we need a voice for this. But overall, all of them are voiced, and they all have a lot of interesting things to say depicting the lore that I'll dive into in a little bit. But you're going to load up on quests. And what I love is that this game masters something that I think like even Baldur's Gate 3 did really well, which is you go to a location for Objective A, and you don't realize lying in there is Quest B. So you're doing Objective A, and then you find someone in like this side location. For example,
Yeah, that's true.
went to a graveyard to learn about a necromancer, and I went into a little side crypt because I was like, oh, I just want to explore this, like what's in here. Turns out it's a full dungeon, and at the end of it all is a spirit that's been collecting all of these goodies and trinkets that you can dig up, and you get a lot of great loot. But basically, they've been doing this because it keeps their legend alive, and for you to continue their legend, you have to steal something for them. And it just opened up a whole quest where I was like, well, what's going on here? So I went back to the town and stole for them, and I won't spoil the rest for you, but I was like, damn, okay, like that was just a nice little distraction that pulled me away from what I was here for in the first place. And it was interesting because, again, these characters being fully voiced and just having that dialogue selection and just a lot of questions you can ask them before you actually take on the quest was really good. Because like that's to me like RPG dialogue 101. It's like, how many questions can I ask you? Because some games really limit it to like one or two options, but this game really lets you get like full context, just digging to these characters more and more and more. So yeah, just shout out to the exploration, shout out to the combat. It also helps that I think the game looks pretty good thanks to like its skies and
Oh yeah, definitely. Some stuff definitely looks impressive. When you get close is where you actually see that there are some issues with the game, but other than that, it's completely fine. Again, big fan of this game.
just the way the music hits at the right time. Again, very Bethesda code in that way. The music reminds me both of a From Software game, but I'd say especially in like the battle music, the boss music, very Witcher 3 coded. So if you're a fan of the Witcher soundtrack, I think you will have a lot of fun with what they've cooked up here. The art style,
Again, you know what's my favorite part about this game? It's the fact that you can pick and choose when you want to do things, when you want to finish things, because you're not supposed to be like level 1 and go do anything. Some things are supposed to be impossible. You need to wait, and you need to come back when you are stronger, because you don't really feel when you're becoming stronger that much. But at some point, you just know this. Hey, this thing that was hard to defeat 20 minutes ago is now actually defeatable, easy, relatively. Except the bears. The bears always are hard. Okay, listen. After killing a bunch of magical shit called corpse eaters and whatnot, one of the favorite parts of this game that I experienced was the fact that it throws curveballs at you. Okay, and it does that a lot. And one of my favorites was, okay, I've been killing these magical things, insane people, and oh, here's a bear. Yeah, a bear. Okay, I'm just gonna go and backstab it and one-shot it. And I deal less than one-third of its HP from a backstab. And I have a sneak backstab dagger build, by the way, with a little bit of magic. Well, at that time, at least. And I'm like, oh wait, what? I didn't one shot it. I just did one-third of a boss's HP with the backstab, and now I didn't even do one-fourth. What's going on? Oh shit! It's a bear, right? It's an actual bear. It's a giant, and it proceeded to maul me a lot until I ran away and then returned and then killed it. But there's a lot of moments. There's a lot of twistings of expectations that's going on here. Hey, here's an enemy that you can defeat. Hey, here's an enemy that you can defeat. Hey, here's this. Oh, you're expecting this to be that? Well, actually, it's this. There's a lot of great stuff like that.
is also very different. You'll see as I'm playing in the open world, this is very like, oh, fantasy like. Okay, cool. But then there are parts of the game that are these H.R. Geiger, borderline alien rips that play into kind of
Yeah, these macabre things.
the history of Avalon. I mean, that H.R. Geiger style is just iconic, of course. So it's just really cool to see it. But to find it blended into a fantasy world, I thought was a really unique approach. Even if they didn't like vary it up a lot and kind of put their own spin on it, just finding it here in this world in the early parts of the game, I was like, damn, okay, this is weird and different. And it built a little bit of intrigue. And when you mix that in, with the fantasy world and like the crypts and the creatures you're finding,
Always have a shovel. Also, I did not notice that shovel when I went through there. I'm not gonna lie. I instantly, what the? There's a shovel there.
it gives it its own unique blend. So far, the story is pretty interesting. I'm not so deep that I feel I can say a lot of definitive things. I know this game is broken up across 3 open maps. So what I think I'll be doing is just kind of chipping away through this on my PC and then giving some thoughts once I'm done. I'd like to play it more on my Steam Deck on a side note here before I get more into the story. But it does not feel good, in my opinion, with the controller. And the frame rate isn't that great either, where I think if you're able to...
Oh, yeah, because it's not a PC. What do you mean? Of course it doesn't feel good when it's not a PC.
Play this on PC, probably the best place to play it. The console experience I've read is a little more hit or miss. But if you like the core gameplay I'm talking about, you'll enjoy it more. But I also think it's because I started off at 60 frames, and like when I went over to my Steam Deck and had to switch from mouse and keyboard controls in 60 frames to like 30 frames and controller controls, I was like, this is.
There's always something somewhere if you find something.
I'm feeling a bit elitist here, but man, this really isn't clicking as much. So just a little word of warning on the tech front there. But when it comes to the story of Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon, this is about King Arthur discovering the land of.
Okay, we're not gonna go into the story, but let me tell you, okay, the story is as predictable as you think until it's not. And very soon you understand, wait a minute, is this real or is that real? Anyway, pretty good stuff. And that was Mr. Matty Plays. Bye.